Hi guys, I'm Michelle Mendoza. Welcome to Mendoza Makes. Today we are not making anything. Today I actually wanted to do a kind of a different video and share with you some advice or tips for beginner home cooks that are just starting out. These are kind of things that I learned along the way, maybe the hard way, so to speak, and I thought that maybe this advice might help some of you, so I'm throwing it out there. Take what you will and apply it how it works for you. So I think a good place to start is thinking about why you want to cook. Whatever it is for you, find out, really be honest with yourself and step back and think, why am I even doing this? Once you figure that out and hold on to that, then you can kind of figure out other things. So if you're cooking to be more healthy, then you're going to look for recipes that are healthy options. You're going to learn how to cook different things based on that. The next part of that is I think it's really important to also think about not only why you're cooking, but what level are you currently at and where do you want to be? The next thing that really helped me was to set realistic expectations for myself. I didn't start out on day one making tamales, but that was something I really wanted to learn how to do. It's a kind of harder recipe, so I had to work my way there. I made other things first. I learned how to make salsa from scratch. I learned how to make the meat. I learned how to manipulate the masa and the fat that goes into it. You learn small things so that you can build up to a bigger thing that you want to make. Now, this also started with me being honest with myself about what level I was at the beginning. At the beginning, I could make a couple of things. Usually I had to follow a recipe. I didn't really understand what flavors and textures would be brought to a dish if I added them myself. I had to follow a recipe that would tell me what that thing would do in the recipe if I added it. So I think it's important to be honest with yourself and say, is the only thing I can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? If so, that's fine, but just know that that's where you're starting. So setting realistic expectations for yourself also kind of has to do with what you have available to you. Now, most things you don't have to invest a whole lot of money in fancy kitchen equipment. If I was starting my kitchen over again from scratch and I had nothing that I had right now, I'd honestly probably get a cutting board, a pan, and a good knife. And that's probably all you need. Kitchen tools can be useful, like a stand mixer makes baking and mixing literally everything so much easier. But you can do things by hand. So work with what tools you have available to you, or budget for tools that you know you want and prioritize the ones that you know you want based on what kind of food you want to make. If you guys are interested in a kind of which tools to start with video, if you're starting your kitchen, or for different sized kitchens, let me know in the comments. Okay, the next tip I have is something you're probably not going to want to hear, and honestly I don't want to hear it either, but it's true. Do the thing that you suck at. Whatever thing that you honestly are horrible at doing, do it. Do it a lot, do it often, do it daily if you can. And the only way that you're going to learn how to do it is if you do it. If you never do the thing you're bad at because you're bad at it, you'll always be bad at it. That's just how life is. I mean, apply that to literally everything. If you don't do it, you're going to suck at it. The end. You're never going to get better. For example, I don't have very good knife skills, but I still do it. I force myself to do it, and I force myself to pay attention to what I'm doing, and I put effort into watching YouTube videos and looking up tips and tricks and other things that I can do to help myself learn how to do it better. And practice. I chop everything every day, all the time. Because the only way I'm going to get better at it is if I keep doing it. Next up is keep your kitchen clean and clear. I really encourage all of you to try your best to either clean as you're cooking or right after you're done eating, go back and clean the kitchen. It's really hard. Honestly, I'm guilty of it too. Once I've worked in the kitchen for a while to make the food, I get to sit down and relax and enjoy the food. I don't want to then go back into the kitchen and clean all the dishes. Like, I just don't. I want to sit and just chill, watch TV, play some video games, like just relax afterwards. I get it. I try my best to go back into the kitchen and do the rest of the dishes, anything that I haven't already cleaned up or put it away, clean it up. It's easier anyway because the food won't get stuck on from sitting. You're more likely to want to cook if you can go into a clean kitchen without dirty dishes in the way and just get straight to cooking, rather than go in the kitchen when you're hungry and have to clean first and then you cook, and by the time you get to actually eating it, you're probably starving. I get super hangry, so I'm in the kitchen like cooking and I want it done now, and that's when I take shortcuts, and that's when the food is not that great. It's not as good as it could be because I rushed it, I was impatient, I was anxious, it was a stressful experience. It's just not good. And keep it clear. What I mean by that is your counter. Give yourself a working space. Don't put the microwave, the coffee maker, the mixer, the cereal boxes. Do not put a bunch of clutter all over your counter and leave yourself this tiny little space like in front of the appliances. No. Just stop. Stop what you're doing. Just stop. Give yourself a clear workspace with nothing on it. Nothing. Because you want to have room for chopping. You want to have room for preparing your ingredients. You want to have a clear place for you to work. And this is something that I had to kind of figure out, is how to set up my kitchen properly so that I had a clear workspace. Keeping your space clear and how large of a workspace you can give yourself can be kind of hard depending on where you live. Right now, my husband and I live in a pretty large house. The kitchen is a really good size, lots of counter space. I have this, you'll see this in my videos. My husband built me a awesome rolling kitchen island that I can put this massive cutting board on, and I love it. It's great. But I didn't always have a kitchen like this. Where I lived prior to this was a small one-bedroom apartment, and the kitchen was a disaster. It was very clear that the person that designed that kitchen had not cooked a day in their life. Like, it was in the shape of a U, so that it was fridge, oven, sink. There was no counter space. The drawers, because it was a U-shaped kitchen, the drawers, when they pulled out, they banged against each other, so you could only pull them out that much. Who does that? It was infuriating. I hated cooking in that kitchen because it was so small and not well laid out. But you have to work with what you got. So there are many ways to kind of work around obstacles that you may have in your kitchen and manipulate it, get creative with where you put things and how you use the space so that you can make yourself a cleared out workspace that you can use to cook with and prepare your ingredients. It gets a lot more useful if you like to bake, because a lot of baking involves dough that you have to roll out. So you need a larger space to do that. I realized when I started baking more and making my own bread that I really wanted a giant cutting board. Like, I just needed space. I needed things out of the way, and I needed something that I could roll my dough out on. And that's when I realized that it's important for everything, or it helped me with everything. It helped me with also cooking and chopping and having room to put things. So don't clutter your counter with a bunch of appliances and cookie jars and sugar jars and stuff like that. Don't put stuff on the counter. Your counter is your workspace and it should be clear. So I'll show you guys my kitchen so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's my kitchen right now. It's a fairly big kitchen. When we moved in here, like I said, we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, so I was not nearly used to all this space, and I felt so lucky to have all of this space. But we have this huge counter over here, which you can see is clear. I have the coffee maker over there in the corner, and that's it. This whole workspace has been clear, and I'll keep it clear because then I can use it as a workspace. If I had a microwave or a toaster oven or other appliances here, it would be taken up by that, and I wouldn't have a workspace anymore. And then over here, by the oven, I keep this space, this counter right here, clear so that I can use this to put my ingredients on and chop some things. And then it can go right from this counter into the skillet or, whatever I'm cooking. My suggestion, if you are working with a small space and you have the top of an oven like this, you can use this space, just put a cutting board on top of it, and you can use that space as your work surface if you need to. The other thing that's helped me a lot with keeping my kitchen clean and clear is the space by my stove, because this is where you're going to be doing most of your cooking. Stand in front of the stove and think to yourself, what am I going to need when I cook? I'll give you a couple of examples that I have here. So over on this side, I have a cleared counter that I can use for preparing my ingredients and keeping my little bowls here for my pre-prepped ingredients that I can then stick straight into my dish. These are little trivets that I got on Amazon, so I just set them to the side so that if I have a hot pan that needs to come off the stove, I can just throw it there really quickly. These are actually pretty awesome. I'll put the link in the description if you guys want to check them out. They came in a whole pack of colored ones, and they're silicone, and they're really cool. I use them all the time. Then I have butter for when I need to add butter to my pan before I put stuff into the pan. I have some spoon rests. I have seasonings back there and spices, my spatulas, and if my tongs were clean, they would be in there too. My milk frother for when I make coffee in the morning, lattes and stuff like that. All of this is within arm's reach because while I'm cooking, I don't want to be looking for this stuff. I want it to just be there, ready for me to grab. Then on the other side, which is actually the side of the fridge, I have a magnetic meat thermometer so that I can check the temperature. I have all of my oven mitts and hot mitts and stuff like that. I have pepper, salt, this is oil for going into the pan, and some paper towels. This is, using the side of your fridge is actually a really good idea too if you have a smaller kitchen or you're in a more confined space. Basically, the fridge is another wall that you can put stuff on. Little shelf I got on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description below. I remember it being fairly cheap, and this magnet actually holds quite a bit of weight. There was a couple other designs if you don't want this paper towel thing. But yeah, just use strong magnets, use strong magnets and put stuff on your fridge. Especially if it's like mine where it's really close to the stove, that's super easy for you to grab stuff. The next tip I definitely learned the hard way. That is to prep your ingredients. That might seem like an easy step or something that you should be doing anyway, but for me, I was really impatient and I would always start cooking when I was hungry, and like I said, I get hangry, so I wouldn't I would just want to cook the food and be done. I wouldn't really take the time to prepare all of my ingredients, pre-chop everything before you get to heating up the skillet. Well, what would end up happening is that I would heat up the pan with the oil or the butter, whatever needed to go in. I would chop my ingredient, whatever it was, throw it in the pan, and then start chopping the next ingredients that needed to go in while that one was cooking. And usually by the time that I had everything else chopped, whatever was in the skillet was burnt, and whatever I had finished chopping last went into the pan and didn't have enough time to cook before the first thing got burnt. So half my dish was burnt and half my dish was undercooked. And the other thing that would happen is that I put it in the pan, and when it's hot and it's sizzling, it makes me feel like I have to hurry up. Like I need to hurry up and put it in the pan, and put the next thing in the pan. So I'm like chopping vigorously, not paying attention to what I'm doing, and could very easily cut myself, and not chopping things correctly. It was just a mess. It was a mess, and it would stress me out, and I would end up with food that was not good. And something that really significantly improved both my stress level and anxiety in the kitchen and made it more enjoyable for me and helped me make the food better tasting was really setting aside time at the beginning to prep my ingredients as a separate step of cooking, not just get straight to the cooking. When you're reading your recipe or you're going to make something, get literally everything you're going to need out onto the counter and prepared before you start cooking, before anything is hot in your kitchen, before you heat up the skillet, before you put the oil in the pan or whatever it is. Get every single thing you need out onto the counter and ready to go. Just dump it in the pan. That is the easiest thing and like the best advice that I could give to someone who's starting out. Prep your ingredients. Because I've learned this step of the importance of preparing my ingredients, you'll probably see me use little dishes like this a lot on here that I have pre-measured. Now, I don't do that all the time. I mostly do it for filming the show, but a lot of the time now, if I read through my recipe and it's kind of complicated, or if it's the first time that I've made something and I'm not sure how hard it's going to be, I will pre-measure things and put them in little dishes like this, so that all I have to do is grab the dish and pour whatever it is in. Or I use these for sticking pre-chopped vegetables, pre-chopped fruits, you know, whatever I'm making. Also, these for liquid measurements that have the measurements on the side, super useful. I'll pre-measure in these and then set that next to the oven when I need to add my liquids. Whatever you want to put it in, little containers or side things, it helps. And I know that that makes more dishes to do. I know that these are going to be dirty at the end. You're going to have more dishes to clean up. But it's worth it, trust me. Okay, I think that's it. That's all I have right now anyway. If you guys have any advice or tips that you would like to share, leave them in the comments. I'm sure there's something that I missed or something else that maybe I didn't even think of. If you guys would like to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. I upload videos every Friday. I'm going to be working on how to read recipes and how to use recipes as a tool to learn how to cook without a recipe. So that'll be coming soon. I hope you liked this video. I hope it was helpful, even in the tiniest bit. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!